This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
Welcome to Fruitloops, Buiti Binafi, and Bienvenidos Bitches. Thank you so much for listening. Fruitloops is a true crime, history, and comedy podcast that delves into the often overlooked stories of serial killers of color and, more importantly, the victims. We take deep dives into the lives and crimes of these killers worldwide, while also examining the history, culture, and social factors that may have influenced their actions. And the reason that we cover these crimes is because they often go unnoticed by the public. And why is that? Because in the simplest of terms, the news is racist. Allegedly.
And we are Wendy and Beth. She's Wendy, a Black Latinx woman, and I'm Beth, and I just happen to be white. That's just a little piece of who we are. Another piece is that although we are both fascinated by true crime, really fascinated by true crime, and we know a lot about it, keep in mind that we are not journalists, investigators, or psychologists, and the opinions expressed in this podcast are just that, our opinions.
So, who are we talking about today, Fred?
Well, this is our episode 256. We're taking a break on serial killers and telling the story of a woman named Darlene George. And she convinced her brother and her lover to murder her husband in June of 2008. And this story was suggested to us by our Fruity, who asked us not to use her name, so we won't. But you know who you are, and we love you.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. This was a really, really interesting case. Yeah. And it, for me, brought up a lot of themes that we talk about often on this show, but are nonetheless interesting. So, how you doing?
Well, I'm just glad this week is coming to an end.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Can we get a hallelujah?
I had something to do every single night this week, and I'm tired.
Yes, girl. Yes, girl.
But my grandson's birthday is tomorrow, and he's going to be 11.
Okay.
So that's pretty wild.
Are we going to have a birthday party with Skibbity Riz and...
Skibbity Riz.
I don't know. I don't know.
Whatever the kids are saying these days. Yeah.
I can't
there
keep
was something else he said the other day, and I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it's all ridiculous.
It is. I mean, I can't even tell you, but you know what? My kid, so we're doing really, really well, but I'm busy as fuck. I'm very horrified by all the problems and the violence in the world inflicted on innocent people. But I am very grateful because I'm safe. I'm surrounded by people I love, and I have what we need. And I'm, again, grateful for that, hopeful for the same for the rest of the world. But like my kid, these animals in our lives, my kids are like talking to me about, we got to take care of the animals and we have to take care of the earth. Like,
wow,
these young people really give a shit.
That's awesome.
About life.
Yeah, and gives you hope.
Yeah, it definitely gives me hope. So I hope the Fruities listening, it's really terrible out there, but we have some hope. So now let's get into some isn't this exciting? Listener letters in the face of such horror. Excuse
Where's
me.
Them damn angels?
Where's that?
Well, hello, angels.
Oh, hey.
Thank you. They just handed me a bag.
Did they now? Oh, what's in that bag, Beth?
Well, I wanted to say thank you to Janae's A Hot Mess for your 5-star review. It was an awesome review. We really appreciate it. We were just reading it before we started.
Yes.
It was great.
Yes. And those are the people that we make the show for. The
Exactly.
People who
yeah. We're making it for you, Janaea.
Yes. Janaea. Oh my gosh. Hip hop air horns to you and thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions or comments, please send them to fruitloopspod@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at
602-935-6294. Oh my God. Add a key, anyone?
We may feature it in a future episode, but if you don't want us to, just tell us and we won't.
It's so simple. It's so simple. We love and respect our community so tremendously. So know that.
Yes.
So let's take a quick break and then we'll get into the story when we come back.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back. Remind us, Beth, who is our subject today?
Our subject today is Darlene George, a woman who convinced her brother and her lover to murder her husband.
What?
And this happened in Maine.
Not Maine.
Yeah. No. Maine. In Maine.
White bread Maine?
Yes.
You mean
yes.
white as snow Maine?
Yes,
and
that's
these
the
are
one.
people of color? I can't believe
They
it.
are, yes.
I cannot believe it.
It's a black family, yes.
Yeah. Well, so this is the Love and Light section of our show. There's one murder victim in this case. And so we want to say rest in power to the victim whose life was cut short. And also we want to say love and light to his loved ones and community left in the wake of this crime. The victim's name, the murder victim, is Winston George, 44. So now let's get into the setting. Take us there, Beth.
Well, the crime took place in the coastal tourist town of Old Orchard Beach, Maine. But long before tourists ever spread towels across its 7 miles of hard-packed sand, the area was home to the Abenaki people, who had lived along these shores for generations before the first Europeans arrived.
In 1603, British explorer Martin Pring sailed into the waters near the Saco and Goose Fair rivers, marking the beginning of European invasion into the region. A few decades later, in 1657, Thomas Rogers became the first European settler. That's a loaded term, by the way. And he arrived earlier in 1636, and he saw such beauty in that place that he decided to name it the Garden by the Sea.
The beach itself got its name from an apple orchard Rogers planted in 1653, an orchard that would become a well-known landmark for sailors navigating the rugged New England coast. Even after the Rogers family fled when native people retaliated in 1675, the orchard remained for over 150 years.
In 1820, when Maine became a state, Old Orchard Beach welcomed its first inn. Tourism blossomed in the decades that followed as boarding houses and railroads opened the region to vacationers. Want to go to Maine?
Yeah, anybody want to go to Maine?
Anybody want to go to Maine?
Actually, I've seen pictures of this place and it's pretty. So
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
By the turn of the 20th century, the town had transformed into a bustling summer hotspot, complete with restaurants, carnival rides, a pier that featured a casino, and in 1914, a brand new roller coaster.
Okay.
In 1914.
These really people know how to have a good time.
Yeah.
Carnival rides. Ooh, and a casino.
Everything.
Oh, I love it. This place has everything. So, though once a destination for the wealthy elite, Old Orchard Beach soon became a beloved retreat for working class families. The iconic pier, which has been battered by storms and rebuilt multiple times, most recently rose again in 1980 following the devastating blizzard of 78.
The blizzard of 78. We were there for that.
Wait,
We
really?
were living in Connecticut. We had just moved there.
What?
Yeah.
Terrible time to be
Crazy.
there.
Yeah.
And were you trapped? What happened? Did you have to pee in bottles?
We did get trapped, actually. So what happened, it's kind of a funny story.
Tell me.
We moved to Connecticut. We moved into our house, and our I guess there were 2 moving trucks.
Okay.
And the first moving truck came and brought like half our stuff.
Okay.
And then the blizzard hit. So we had half our stuff.
Okay.
The electricity went out.
Damn it.
So we were using the basement as a refrigerator and the outside as a freezer.
Wow.
A dog came and ate our ice cream sandwiches.
Oh my God. That's so, wow.
Yeah, we had a wood stove, so we had heat.
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty cold. And
Holy
then
shit.
there was a blizzard. I don't know how many days. It seemed like a week to me, but it was probably, I was a kid, so it was probably a few days.
Yeah.
And then it cleared up.
Okay.
And then the truck came and brought the rest of our stuff, and then it hit again.
What?
So, yeah.
Wow. Oh my God.
That's what
What
I
an
remember.
ordeal,
Maybe
Beth.
Minnie might remember something different, but that's what I remember.
Okay. Wow. For it to have an impact on the OG of true crime means it was significant.
We were living in Connecticut at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, and also, again, you keep saying things that make me wish that I was part of your family. Like your parents, it doesn't sound like your parents panicked. They just like,
no,
let's just do
didn't.
this.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Easy fridge, easy freezer. Bada bing,
And we
bada boom.
didn't-
Probably some arts and crafts from what I know of your mom.
Yeah, actually, we made, this is so weird. I don't know if
keep
we
going.
didn't have our toys or what, but Minnie and I, my mom had these curlers. And you remember those curlers, the plastic ones that would snap closed and then you'd open them? And they looked like legs. So
perm rods.
Yeah, perm rods.
Yeah, I've got some
and
right here.
We would tie 2 of them together so it looked like a person with legs, and we played with those.
Oh my God. Oh my heart just skipped a million beats and almost jumped out of my body because it was so beautiful. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Oh, we have to talk about murder now.
Yeah, now we got to talk about murder. Back
man.
to murder.
Okay.
So back to Old Orchard Beach.
Yes. And the blizzard of 78 happened.
Yes.
Continue.
Now, today, the town of Old Orchard Beach is still alive with energy in the summer, featuring swimming, seafood, arcade games, concerts, fireworks, and the salty scent of the Atlantic air. But despite this vibrant atmosphere, Old Orchard Beach remains a small place. As of the 2010 census, just over 8,600 people call it home, and over 98% of them are white. So almost 100% white.
Yeah. Oof. I just got a chill from the
I can't
ice,
even
from the
imagine.
snow. Ooh, brr.
Wow.
Blizzard of 78 still here in 2010.
Still here.
So
The blizzard of 98%.
yeah, the 98% blizzard. It just won't leave. So enter Winston George and Rennie Cassimi. And these are 2 men in the story, and their paths led from the Caribbean, because these are Carib people, and that is their land, Caribbean island, all the way to this New England beach town. And they came from a place worlds apart, Trinidad and Tobago, a twin island nation nestled off of the coast of Venezuela.
Trinidad is the southernmost island in the Caribbean and the 5th largest overall. Its history is a complex tapestry of colonialism, resistance, and cultural fusion.
Yeah, it's incredible. I've never met somebody from Trinidad who I did not like or love. Seriously.
That's awesome.
But now that this show is on the internet, I'm sure I'll be surprised.
You'll be eating your words.
I'm sure people will tell me that I'm wrong. So when Columbus landed there in 1498, he encountered the indigenous Taíno people. Not long after, Spain claimed the island and began enslaving the native population. Fuckers. And over centuries, Spanish settlers, this was this mestizaje. They intermarried with indigenous people, giving rise to the mestizo identity. And there's a whole podcast we could do about that. But there you go.
Trinidad's cultural landscape shifted again when in 1845 and 1917, thousands of Indian laborers were brought to the island under British rule to work on sugar plantations. Today, their descendants make up the Indo-Trinidadian population, about a third of the island's residents.
Another third are Afro-Trinidadians, the descendants of enslaved Africans brought to the Caribbean through the transatlantic slave trade. Trinidad's culture is also strongly influenced by Venezuela, reflecting centuries of exchange across waters. And I want to say that idea of exchange, exchanging knowledge, exchanging ideas, agriculture, plants, animals, etc. The indigenous populations of this world and the African populations of this world, that's what they did historically.
Yeah.
They never colonized a people in the same way that white people did. Kill,
yeah, it was a little different.
Steal, force them to take a language, force them to take a religion. I heard that today on the internet in some video thing, and I was like, I'm so proud. Oh my gosh, we didn't colonize nobody. Amen. Praise the Lord. What do you got, Beth? Continue.
So Trinidad is a vibrant mix of Indo-Trinidadians, Afro-Trinidadians, and other ethnicities, with fewer than 1% of the population being of European descent. So basically the polar opposite of Old Orchard Beach.
Yes. And so, any listeners, if you have anything to add about the setting, we'd love to add to our knowledge base about these places and these cultures, so you know where to find
Hit us up.
Yeah. So now let's get into the early life of Darlene George. She was born Darlene Williams in 1965 in Brooklyn, New York. And she was known for her strong personality and unwavering determination. And we don't know much about her early life, but we do know that Darlene had an older brother named Jeffrey Williams, who had an extensive criminal record that included robbery and attempted robbery.
Right. But Darlene, she pursued a higher education. Mm-hmm. She got a job, a good job, and eventually met a man named Franklin Whiteman, whom she married. And in 1994, the couple welcomed a son that they named Giovanni. But their marriage ended shortly afterwards in divorce.
Franklin does not appear to have been involved in Giovanni's life following the divorce. I mean, even after this happened with Darlene, I didn't see his name pop up. Did you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Darlene, however, was described as a devoted and committed mother, deeply caring and actively engaged in her son's life.
And we also know from our Fruity, who recommended this story, that Darlene George was very intelligent. She has a good sense of humor, and she's resourceful and driven.
So now let's get into the timeline. So Darlene George met Rennie Cassimi at a party in New York around 1994 and 1995. Cassimi, a charismatic and skilled soccer player from Trinidad, had a reputation with the ladies. He was a ladies' man.
Yeah.
And had no criminal record, but he referred to himself as a gigolo.
Yeah. Yeah. When they first were referring to him as a gigolo, I was like, what? But he referred to himself as a gigolo.
But you know, in the 90s, I felt like, wasn't there a movie that came out with Rob Schneider about him being a gigolo? Yeah. And it was
I don't think
comedy?
I don't think it says. As far as sex work goes, being a gigolo is not looked down upon, I don't think.
You know what? That's interesting. That's the patriarchy's fault.
Yep, exactly.
Right? It's sex work, and gigolo-ness is uplifted.
Yeah.
And if a woman or somebody else does it, then,
no. Yeah. So Cassimi had moved to New York in 1993 after landing a job there, but he struggled financially, and the women he met supplemented his income. He did have a wife in Trinidad, but she did not join him in the U.S.
I didn't know that this whole time. All the sources. I did not catch that.
I can't remember where I read that, but...
Okay.
If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I read it somewhere that he had a wife in Trinidad.
Okay.
But that she stayed in Trinidad. I totally believe it.
Listen, girl.
Yeah.
The OG of True Crime said, and she's cross-referenced, triple-referenced, so I trust your judgment. But, we're not always right. So if the Fruities out there
if
listening,
we're wrong, let us know.
Different, let us know, please.
Yep.
So at some point after Cassimi met George, they began an intimate relationship. She later offered him a place to live in an apartment complex she owned. And can we just talk about the Black excellence of a Black woman owning
an
whole
apartment complex
building?
Yeah.
And this would be a success story if this was not Fruit Loops serial killers of color.
Yeah.
So their affair continued even after George met and married another man named Winston George, who's our victim.
Right. And Winston was born and raised in Trinidad.
She must have a taste for Caribbean men, which, by the way,
actually, somebody did mention that she loved Caribbean men.
They're kind of irresistible.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
It's true.
Okay. Side note. Okay. My mom is Belizean, and I went to Belize to stay with my grandparents for like a month or so. And I met a boy, and he swept me off my feet. He was my pen pal, like boyfriend, for like a good year after I got back. Like, because he just talked me off my feet. And when you go to the Caribbean, or you, even in New York, and you're around these men, the way they sweet talk
They're
you,
just charming.
if you're not used to it, and me, again, I was a heavy, dark-skinned Black girl from the Pacific Northwest, and I thought I was the ugliest thing in the whole wide world and worthless. And so when these men were like being nice to me and saying that I was pretty and, hey, pretty girl, kind of what, the way they sweet talk you sounds like a song, music.
Yeah, it
and
does.
Oh. So anyway, I get it. I get
Very
being
charming.
swept up.
Yeah.
Girl, I get it.
So when Winston was in his 20s, he moved to New York, where he lived with his siblings and found steady work in renovation. He did well for himself, taking on various jobs in the city. In 1995, he met Darlene Whiteman, a 29-year-old divorcee and single mother to a 1-year-old boy named Giovanni.
The two began dating and remained together for several years. Over time, Winston became a father figure to Giovanni. Winston is a great man.
Yeah.
Obvious. I feel like
everybody who talked about him loved him. Yeah.
Yes. Winston was the only father that Giovanni had ever known. And in 2002, Winston and Darlene got married.
Yeah, and I saw one video where they talked to his sister.
Yes.
His family loved Darlene.
Yeah.
They thought that they were a great couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It all seemed really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
Seemed wonderful.
Seemed, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after their wedding, Darlene was offered a $50,000 relocation package to manage a new business venture in Maine. So she and Winston accepted the opportunity, and the family relocated to Old Orchard Beach. Winston soon found work at a nearby medical supply company.
So they're moving on up.
Yeah.
Move on up. In later testimony, Giovanni shared that he and his mother spoke on the phone daily while she was at work, and that she regularly helped him with his homework. So an involved mother, very attentive. And he also loved Winston and said he worked a lot, but was always fun to be around when he was home.
But the couple's busy work schedules left George feeling lonely and restless. Kissimmee brought excitement to her life. They stayed in close contact, speaking daily, sometimes more than 10 times a day, on a cell phone that George paid for.
George also returned to New York about twice a month to visit her family and check on the small apartment building she owned where Kissimmee lived. They saw each other during these visits, and he occasionally traveled to Maine, staying in motels where George would come to meet him. Their affair continued even after Kissimmee was diagnosed as HIV positive, which is very interesting. And also, HIV used to be a death sentence. It afflicts Black people in the diaspora more than other populations, including Black people in the continent of Africa, in the Caribbean, and in the United States.
It seems like she just could not resist him for whatever reason.
Exactly. He was, and again, if you've ever met a Caribbean man, they are irresistible. I'm telling you. All that to say, I didn't know that about his HIV diagnosis, and I just want to say, because this is a show about true crime and people of color, HIV does afflict people of color more often than other people.
Right.
So it's an important thing, I think, to just highlight.
And I think that's due to racism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And don't get me started on...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Giovanni later said that his mother and stepfather got along fine. though they did occasionally argue at night after he went to bed. He recalled meeting his uncle, Jeffrey Williams, only a handful of times.
Giovanni had also seen Rennie Cassimi on several occasions at Cassimi's apartment in New York and twice in Maine, where he stayed at a motel near Palace Playland, an amusement park located near the pier in Old Orchard Beach.
According to Cassimi, George often complained about her marriage, but said she didn't want a divorce because she didn't want to divide ownership of their properties. And they didn't just own the apartment complex. They had a house, actually 2 houses in Old Orchard Beach. Probably one was a rental property. I don't know.
Oh.
And then the apartment complex. And Winston George also owned 2 properties in Trinidad, which he had inherited from his family. So they had 5 properties total.
5 properties. And a couple things to point out. George, Darlene, is an African-American Black woman.
Right.
And her husband is a Caribbean Black person. And there are differences amongst the diaspora. And I've talked about this before, that Caribbean people and African people will look at Black people in America and think, you guys, you're so lucky because you were born here, and they come here. And they
hustle.
Yeah, they have the hustle and maybe like higher self-esteem or self-confidence coming from maybe a more Black, homogenous type of society. And so they get here and it's just grind. And the obstacles that they face, and I'm generalizing, obviously this is not true for everybody are a little bit different. And so I think what is really beautiful about their particular story is this is a level of success that a lot of people of color will never achieve.
Yeah.
A building, bitch.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so it's really wonderful, but it's also really unusual. And there are a lot of reasons why.
Yeah. And I think that this was it was difficult for her to, they had this level of success. And to think about getting a divorce and losing some of that was really hard.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. And I mean, I am not a person who has been divorced, but a child of one. And financially, it fucks everything up.
Yeah.
I know that. I know that to be true.
Yeah.
So, I get her fear.
Cassimi later claimed that he suggested setting Winston George up by planting drugs in his vehicle and reporting it to the police so that he would be convicted of a drug crime and then deported back to Trinidad. But Darlene George was concerned that Winston would know that it was she who set him up.
That's when she came up with the $1 million idea of a staged home invasion robbery. Cassimi said he didn't want to go along with the plan, but George made him feel guilty because of all the help she had given him over the years.
George then enlisted her brother, Jeffrey Williams, to assist them. Williams had spent most of his adult life behind bars for robbery and attempted robbery. He had been released less than 6 months earlier. So here's a couple of men that I think she was easily able to manipulate. Yeah. Because here's Cassimi, who she's helped over the years, given him a place to live, probably gave him money, gave him a cell phone. And her brother, who just got released from prison, doesn't really, have a life yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they were vulnerable and unfortunately she took advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And we know that Darlene is very, very intelligent. And so I don't imagine that would have been a difficult task
Too difficult,
for her.
Yeah.
Approximately 1 week before the crime, George, Williams, and Cassimi met inside George's Chevy Blazer, which was parked outside the Brooklyn apartment building she owned, and where Cassimi lived, to plan to discuss the details of the home invasion and murder. George provided travel money and a detailed plan of what to do.
So on June 19th of 2008, which isn't that Juneteenth?
That
Juneteenth.
On the most sacred of Black holidays.
Yeah.
I just, another reason to dislike murder. To do it, I mean,
to do it on Juneteenth.
To do it
Come
on Juneteenth of all days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, so it was Juneteenth. June 19th in 2008, Williams and Kissimmee traveled by bus from New York City to Portland, Maine. Security cameras at the Portland Transportation Center recorded Williams, who was wearing a burgundy football jersey, and Kissimmee exiting the bus upon arrival.
At approximately 4:30 p.m., George picked them up some distance from the bus terminal to avoid being recorded by the CCTV cameras, the security cameras. Mm-hmm. And then she dropped the two men off at a motel near her house in Old Orchard Beach.
That same day, George's 13-year-old son, Giovanni, was getting ready for a month-long stay with relatives in New York. He had just graduated from middle school and was excited about the upcoming trip. To mark the occasion, he and his stepfather Winston, whom he affectionately called Pop, went out to lunch together.
Later, Winston left for work and was not expected home until after midnight. Around 6 p.m., George took Giovanni on a series of errands. They did some shopping to pick up some items for his upcoming trip, had dinner at TGI Fridays, Jack Daniel's Tower, sign me up, and then went to the grocery store and the bank.
As planned, the George's house sat empty during this time, and George had left it unlocked. Williams and Kissimmee walked to the house from their nearby motel, entered, and prepared to execute their plan. Earlier that day, George had purchased 2 masks and a camouflage backpack for Williams and Kissimmee to use during the home invasion.
But Williams and Kissimmee could not locate the masks in the house. So instead, they covered their faces with black nylon stockings that they found and put on latex gloves that George had left for them.
Putting on nylon stockings, that's terrifying. When
it is.
You cannot recognize somebody when they have a nylon stocking on it. It's so weird.
Well, it's
so
also
weird.
Jarring the way it distorts like
your
a
face.
Yeah.
It looks so weird.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think I said that like 3 times. Did I mention
emphasis on W-E-I-R-D? Yeah.
Yeah. George and Giovanni came back to the house around 11 p.m. Giovanni did notice lights were on in the basement of the house, which he thought was unusual. And when he got inside, a man with a stocking over his face and a knife in his hand took him down, while another man attacked his mother.
Yeah, I mean, the violence was like instant.
Yeah, as soon as they
the way it was
came
described.
in.
Yeah. So he initially tried to fight back, but his mother told him not to resist.
Which, if it was a real home invasion would be good advice because, he's holding a knife.
Right.
I would do the same thing.
Exactly. And so the man then took Giovanni to a bedroom, then tied him up with a sheet and blindfolded him. He said the blindfold was askew and he could see reflections from the hallway in the headboard. George was taken to the same room and also tied up.
Using Jamaican accents, the 2 men demanded drugs and money.
Give me drugs, man! No, I don't know how they did it. Yeah.
Exactly like that, yeah. It was, of course, Williams and Kissimmee. George knew this, but Giovanni did not, and he must have been terrified. George later told the police that she believed it might have been a case of mistaken identity, that these men just went to the wrong house.
Yeah, and just a moment to appreciate what we know, that George planned this.
Yeah.
And her son is like in the midst of all of this.
And she planned it that way.
Terror. Yeah.
Yeah. She planned it that way.
It's really hard to sit with.
Yeah.
Really hard to sit with.
Yeah. Especially what we know about what a good mother she was. Like how, I just keep going back to that. How.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
It's really weird.
Fruities, I'm sure you're thinking up many things, and please let us know.
Yeah.
So, in any case, all this is going on, and Winston arrived home around 1 a.m. He was attacked immediately after he entered the house. William struck Winston in the face and dragged him down to the basement. Giovanni later relayed that Winston asked about his family, said a prayer, I think he said the Lord's Prayer, and then, quote, it went silent, unquote.
Yeah.
They heard him recite the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, and he was begging them not to hurt his family.
Yeah.
Once in the basement, Williams hogtied Winston with a rope and put a plastic bag over his head. Winston died from asphyxiation. To confirm that Winston was dead, Kissimmee cut a hole in the plastic bag and poured rum down his throat to see if he would react. After Winston failed to react, Kissimmee left the bottle lodged in his throat.
While this was happening, Giovanni told his mother, "Hey, Mom, the sheets are loose. I think I can untie myself." and help Winston, or put a dresser in front of the bedroom doorway. But his mother told him it was too dangerous.
Yeah, and I thought about this a lot, and I think she wanted to give them a chance to get away.
Yeah.
Because they took a long time to call for help. Anyway, after murdering Winston, Williams and Kissimmee left the house, took Winston's car, and abandoned it in a nearby restaurant parking lot. They then took a cab to Portland, boarded a bus to Boston, then took another bus to New York.
At 5:45 a.m. on June 20th, Darlene George used Giovanni's cell phone to call 911, instructing him to stay put in case the intruders returned. Speaking in a hushed voice, the audio is available online.
Yeah.
Speaking in a hushed voice, she told the dispatcher that she and her 13-year-old son had just been the victims of a home invasion and that the perpetrators might still be inside the home.
During the call and in subsequent interviews with investigators, George claimed that 3 men had ambushed her family in their home, demanding drugs and money. She said the men tied her and her son up in a bedroom, then attacked her husband, Winston, when he arrived home from work.
So I just thought of something, that money and drugs, randomly somebody breaking into your house, doesn't make any sense. Like, that wouldn't happen unless you were a known drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
But they did have money, right? And so it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities that somebody would target them for their money.
Right, and she also suggested that maybe it was a case of mistaken identity. Maybe they meant to hit somebody else's house, you know? She did think of a lot of things.
Yeah. So she described the intruders as all wearing black nylon stockings over their faces and wearing latex gloves on their hands. One wore a brown professional sports jersey, another a blue t-shirt, and the third a burgundy polo or t-shirt. All 3 spoke with Jamaican accents. Remember the details from this first version of events.
Yeah. When the police arrived, they secured the premises and found Winston in the basement, hog-tied and asphyxiated to death. He had a plastic bag around his head and a bottle of rum forced down his throat.
Ugh. The hog tying it's just such a nasty, evil thing to do to somebody.
Yeah. All of this is.
Did you have to?
Yeah.
But Mama, did you have to do it that way? That's what I kept asking myself throughout this.
Yeah, it's true.
Did you gotta do it like that?
Did you have to do it like that?
Yeah.
It was pretty violent. Yeah.
So George said the men stole her work computer. They stole some jewelry, a mink coat, and this was the 90s, so it was still okay to have mink coats, and her husband's SUV. While Giovanni appeared distraught and terrified, George remained calm, a demeanor officers initially attributed to her efforts to comfort her son, but later found suspicious. So now let's get into the investigation and the arrest. Hit it, Beth.
Although Winston had died by asphyxiation, the rum bottle forced into his mouth suggested to investigators that this murder was personal. It was surmised that the perpetrators might have been someone close to him.
An APB was issued for Winston's SUV, which was later found abandoned outside of a restaurant. With help from a cab driver, police learned that the men had traveled via taxi to Portland, Maine, and boarded a bus bound for Boston, Massachusetts.
By reviewing the passenger manifest and surveillance videos, investigators were able to identify 2 men that were connected to George.
Okay.
Jeffrey Williams and Rennie Kissimmee.
Got him.
Yep. After reviewing additional bus manifests and videos, they learned that the 2 had been in Old Orchard Beach for less than 24 hours, during which time Winston was murdered. Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. So,
like, it's so obvious.
It is.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is these 2 men, what stood out to me is these are 2 black men, like, they stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
they were
in
like
a 98% white community.
Yeah,
there was no way they were going to get away with this.
Absolutely not. And I don't know, is that racism or justice? Who's to say?
Well, I mean, it is what it is, 98, I mean, I'm sure there's racism.
Yeah.
But 98% white, and there's 2 black people.
People are going to notice.
Yeah, people are just going to notice.
It's just, it is what it is. You're absolutely right. OG True Crime, she did it again. Now, investigators also spoke with a witness, a woman who had seen 2 black men walking down the road near the house around 10 or 10:30 p.m. And give it up to this white lady who was not minding her business. This would have been nothing unusual in New York or in a lot of other places, but in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, it was something people noticed. And the lady actually said it was weird, quote unquote. So she just did the whole show for us, basically.
Yeah, we didn't have to say all that before that.
We did. We could have just left it out.
Let's let it. Yeah. Well. While they found no evidence that Winston was involved in drug use or sales, they did uncover that he had lied to George about his whereabouts that night. He hadn't been at work at all, but was instead with his girlfriend.
No.
Someone he was having an affair with.
Oh.
So this suggested a motive to them. And George knew about this affair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a generalization in my experience as a Caribbean person. I have heard it said that Caribbean men are generally not great at being faithful. That in particular,
they love the ladies.
They love the ladies. And somebody in my said, I'm not going to be a man, one of these Caribbean men with outside children, just refused.
Yeah.
And so that's a point I have heard in my culture. So it is a thing.
Yeah. But also, their marriage was not going well.
Yes.
I don't know if Winston knew about Kissimmee or not, but, it was not going well. And I think that he actually was in love with this woman.
Yeah. But on paper, their businesses were doing well. They had the nice house.
On
they
paper,
had multiple
they were
houses.
doing well.
Their son was thriving, right? They were going to take this trip to New York to visit family. I guess the, what do you call that? Facade was on point.
Yeah, it was a good facade.
Yeah. So George was questioned, and she claimed to not have known that Williams and Kissimmee had been in town. However, police soon discovered that on the day of the homicide, she had gone to an army surplus store where she had bought 2 masks and a camouflage backpack. Nowhere near Halloween.
Yeah.
The exact same backpack that Williams was seen with in surveillance videos when he left Maine.
Yeah, so the surveillance videos when he came to Maine, he had no backpack. And the surveillance videos when he left, he had a camouflage backpack.
What's
and
up
it's the
with that?
same backpack that she bought. So
Ooh-wee. Oh, what's up with that? Oh, what's up with that? What's up with that? Sorry.
So police arrested Kissimmee in New York on June 26th, and Williams turned himself in on June 30th. On July 7th, George testified in front of the York. I got confused here because it's the York County Grand Jury, but it's in Maine.
York County in Maine. Got
York
it.
County in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
She was called back again to testify on September 2nd.
Okay, so if you ever hear grand jury associated with Wendy or Fruitloops, it's over. It's over. They got you.
They got us.
So investigators continued the investigation into Darlene George's role, and she was finally arrested on March 5th of 2009. So where are we from the murder? Like 9 months.
Yeah, it's a while.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, all 3 were charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder, and all 3 pleaded not guilty to both counts. So now let's get into the trial. What, Beth?
Prosecutors built their case with bus station surveillance videos, bank records, phone records, and interviews with several people who had seen Williams and Kissimmee in Old Orchard Beach, such as the lady who had seen them walking down the street and an employee at the motel.
I was just thinking about the trial. ma'am, can you testify to what you saw? Like if she was just like, I'm not racist, but
there was two black men.
Now, I mean, if there ever was a time
suspiciously walking down the street.
Yeah. If there ever was a time for that to kind of be okay, maybe this trial might be it. I mean, and also other people might profoundly disagree with me. So anyway, and in March of 2009, the state filed a notice of joinder to join Williams, George, and Kissimmee for a trial. So they'd have one trial, one judge, one jury, all the defendants. And George's attorneys moved to sever the trials, but were unsuccessful. And specifically, they severed the juries. So George was able to get her own jury, but they were all still there at the same place.
The trial would be the same,
yes.
But there'd be different juries for each defendant.
Okay,
got it. Then on January 26, 2010, before the trial could take place, Kissimmee accepted a plea offer by prosecutors who agreed to recommend a prison sentence of 8 years, which is great for that crime.
Considering?
Yeah.
What?
If he pleaded guilty. In exchange, Kissimmee agreed to testify against George and Williams, and he became the key witness against them.
He claimed that he did help carry out the ambush, but blamed Williams for the actual killing. Kissimmee and George wanted Winston George dead because he was having an affair, and she wanted sole control of the 5 properties that they owned together.
At the joint trial for Darlene George and Jeffrey Williams, a transcript from her grand jury testimony was read out in court. In it, George denied that she was involved in a romantic relationship with Kissimmee. She said that she was a close friend to him and his family, and that because he does not read English, she was just helping him with some paperwork.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's all.
That's the thing with grand juries, because they don't call you there if they don't think they got you. And that's just so stupid. There's so much. And it was also the 90s and before, like, it feels like in 2025, you really can't get away with anything because everybody has a camera. There's surveillance everywhere.
Ring cameras.
Yeah. But in the 90s, it was not so.
It was different.
For all the babies listening now, there was a time
it
when...
wasn't like that.
Yeah. So George said that her marriage to Winston George had been good and that she was even seeing a fertility expert in an effort to become pregnant. She claimed that she had no idea that Kissimmee and Williams had come to Maine on June 19th, 2008.
She also said that 3 men, not 2, ambushed her and Giovanni at the home and that they wore black nylon stockings over their faces, so she didn't recognize any of them.
On the 3rd day of the trial, Giovanni, who had by then been 15 years old, he took the stand. And he was living in a foster home in Old Orchard Beach and had just completed his sophomore year of high school.
He testified that he saw only 2 men during the apparent home invasion. He also said that he had a difficult time understanding Kissimmee, who's from Trinidad, but was able to easily understand the Jamaican accents of the intruders. So I think he was like, well, it probably wasn't Kissimmee because I can't understand him, but he did say that he only saw 2 men. So I think he was just telling the truth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And also, I mean, okay, Giovanni, if anybody is keeping score, he had that horrible event in June of 2008. And, the day before, he thought he was going to New York to go see his family.
He was
and
all
celebrate.
excited about it. Yeah.
And then he just finishes his sophomore year of high school, and now he's got to do this testifying shit in a murder trial
my God.
that his mother orchestrated of his fucking dad.
Yeah.
So just additional
context.
Context. Poor Giovanni, exactly. So Darlene George and her brother Jeffrey Williams were convicted of the murder of Winston George by a jury on June 26, 2010 in York County Superior Court in Alfred, Maine. and they were sentenced a few months later. So now let's get into where are they now? Tell us, Beth.
Darlene George is serving a 40-year prison sentence at Maine Correctional Center Women's Services, while Williams was sentenced to life in prison and is serving his time at Maine State Prison.
In 2012, after an appeal, the Maine Supreme Judicial Court upheld their murder convictions. In prison, we understand that George has participated in programs to further her education, and in the prison that she was comfortable there, and she acted as sort of a queen bee on the unit, sort of squashing squabbles as they came up with the other young female people who were incarcerated, and that she also commanded respect. And clearly she's, you can't forget Darlene. Well, I'll remember Darlene.
Yeah. So Giovanni was a minor at the time of this incident and was put into the foster care system. We think he's still living in Maine. And as far as we know, Giovanni never visited his mother / the person who orchestrated his father's murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah. And we hope that wherever he is, he's doing okay.
And that's for real, for real.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into our takes. That's it for the story. Please let us know what you think. We'd love to keep the discussion going. And if there's any additional information that you have,
let us know.
Let us know. We love to learn and know more. So, Beth, well, what do you think? What are your thoughts? OG, a true crime.
So I think George she was described as determined and ambitious.
Yeah.
And I think she got to a point where she had all these properties and was comfortable and didn't want to lose that.
Nope.
And then she was furious with her husband for having an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she was having an affair herself, it sounds like she didn't think of Kissimmee as husband material.
Yeah.
She was fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But Winston was having an affair with a coworker. And it sounds like they were in love, and he was planning to leave George. And she definitely was not okay with that. So she was mad at him.
Mm-hmm.
I think she just could not quit Kissimmee.
Yeah.
And I wonder what would have happened if she had. If she had actually committed herself to her marriage.
Ooh.
Because she'd been having this affair with Kissimmee.
For a long time?
Yeah, since before she even met Winston, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe... Yeah, I think it was before she met him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just wonder what would have happened.
Yeah.
And then also, I feel for Giovanni, and I don't really understand how she was able to put him in the situation that she put him in.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Being described as a wonderful mother.
My Lord.
And then doing this. It seemed like she kind of lost her mind.
Yes, that's what I thought, too. And...
She snapped.
But it wasn't like a sudden snap, right? Like,
yeah, it was
she
kind
wasn't
of a
washing
slow
the dishes, and
snap.
he was like, "Hey, babe, could you have me a beer?" And then
she just beat him over the head with a
out a
pot
machete.
or something.
And, no, exactly. It was a little bit more.
It was a slow burn.
Slow than that. And I completely agree with you, Beth. I felt that she had a lot of relatable qualities to me. And like her circumstances, I felt like I really understood from my own experience. And I saw her as this Black woman with an education and driven. This is the generation. So she's like my mom's generation, the generation of Black people. I didn't get it out very well in the last episode that we covered, but there's this generation of Black American people whose parents grew up in the Jim Crow South area time and have that mentality and raised people like Darlene George to succeed at all costs, essentially.
Right. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We worked really hard for you to get a good education, to not have a criminal record, and to own property and live the American dream as a Black person.
Emphasizing that, yeah.
Yes. And we don't know about her childhood, so that I'm just assuming that. But based on my experience in this world,
what we
that's
know
what I
of
think.
her,
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right.
Mm-hmm. And so she was just very, very, very driven to succeed and provide for her son and give him all the things, right? We want our children to be better off than we were. And that's what her parents did to her. And that's what she did. But she really lost sight of Giovanni in all of this.
She really did.
And it sounds like, they were living so lavishly in a really white place, which also fucks with your head, if I'm being honest. There was probably an angel and a devil saying, hell yeah, we made it. I'm rich, bitch. But also, you better not lose a shit. You better not. Yeah. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, don't fuck it up.
Yeah. And I can imagine the fear of losing everything, the wealth, the husband, the house, and the Sancho, which is Espanol for my male dick side piece on the side. Amen. It makes even the smartest person's capacity for discernment just leave the building. Just not present and accounted for. Discernment, are you here? Nope, I don't have any of it. And people get away with murder all the time. And an excuse that has worked oftentimes in the past is the black guy did it. But these black guys had very terrible accents and were the only black people in the whole state, as far as I could tell. And people noticed. And it just makes me really, really sad that part of the lack of her discernment made her think it was reasonable, or just the thought was absent from her that she was killing her son's father for money. And their entire
he was
life.
Present for it.
For it. And you will lose your child if you do something like this. I don't know why that didn't occur to her. And that makes me sad. And Giovanni went through a horrifically traumatic, violent event and loss of his father. And then the trial, and then his mom getting locked up. I mean,
right. Going into the foster
kids,
system.
Kids who experience that alters their trajectory in life. And so it's just, I just don't have words because it's really sad. Yeah. And Winston's family will never get him back. So again, all I can say is just rest in power to Winston George. Love and healing energy to Giovanni wherever he is, and to Winston's family and everybody affected by this. Yeah. Anything to add, my friend?
Nope.
Okay. Well, guess what? Guess what time it is? It's How Not to Get Murdered time.
All right.
How Not to Get Murdered. So, if you love true crime and you don't want to die, here's a tip for you.
This segment is not intended to be victim blaming. We thought of this segment because I read somewhere that a lot of people listen to true crime because they want to know what they can do to be safer. This is not meant to blame the victims. It's just learning from other people's experiences.
Okay, so Beth, I feel like for context, I need to share the video with you. So I'm going to share. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, this is the dude.
Okay.
Okay, and so he is this white guy on Instagram, and he has created an audio that any of us can save on our phones when we're scared. So when you're scared in a rideshare, on a hike, on a run, walking alone at night.
Guys, it looks like his tag is the big old Texan family.
That's right.
Okay.
So you would put this audio on speaker, and he gives you instructions in the video. And he's got a very deep, scary voice.
Yeah, he does.
And he's telling you how to respond through the video.
Okay.
I don't know if we can share it. I didn't ask this creator for permission. I've learned a little bit more about him, look at his nails. He paints his nails.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of content considering women and ways to make them safe. So
nice.
This man is, again, his handle is the big old Texan family. And what he has done with this piece of audio that we can all share on our devices and save on our devices is you have this audio available to play anytime you are concerned about your safety. And it's a big, scary man's voice as protection. Or the illusion, not the illusion of protection, but the illusion that you've got somebody big and scary right around the corner protecting you. So
I've actually seen other men do this too. It's really cool. Yeah.
Oh my God. I didn't know that men were doing this.
Yeah.
I have a little bit more hope.
Yeah.
I thought that the big old Texan was the only one. I have a little bit more hope about the world.
Yeah, he's not the only one.
He's not the only one. Oh my God. That really makes me feel I'm serious. Like my heart had a little orgasm. Aww. Wow. or flutter, whatever you want to call it. Anyway.
I would say flutter.
Okay,
but
whatever.
That's because I'm a prude.
So, anything to add, friend?
No, thank you for bringing that to the table.
Yeah. And if you all have any additional tips, you know where to find us. We can always use more. So now let's get into the shout out portion of our show where we shout out any content by people of color or any true crime goodies. And y'all, oh my God, I have been getting my life together with... So all those 90s babies who were fans of and shaped by the golden age of Black TV from the 90s. Hello, speaking of the 90s, there is a real treat for you, and it's called Re-Living Single, the unofficial official podcast of Living Single. I gotta look up the Re-Living Single, and it is hosted by our two favorites, Erica Alexander and Kim Coles. They are BFFs. Erica Alexander played Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, and Kim Coles played Sinclair. And all the episodes, they talk about the fashion. They talk about the Black fashion and the Black culture and the Black people who made the show. And, you know, Friends is modeled after Living Single.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Oh, yeah. The head of NBC said, you know, if you could go back, what show do you wish that you could have swooped up? And he said, man, I wish I could have got that Living Single.
Wow.
And a year later, Friends was created.
Wow, that's crazy. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So they also get into the history of that and the racism of the TV industry at the time.
Oh, wow. That sounds fascinating.
It is just so fun.
Awesome.
So that's Reliving Single podcast. What do you got?
I wanted to shout out a TV series that I came across. It's a British TV series called Get Millie Black.
Oh.
And it's on Max.
Okay.
And it's about a Jamaican-born detective named Millie Jean Black.
Okay.
And she leaves Scotland Yard. She'd been working in Scotland Yard.
Scotland Yard, okay.
Scotland Yard,
okay.
Yeah, or however.
You did that one real good.
My accents are
real
terrible.
Good. Real good. You sounded like a fat bastard. Amen. Well done.
So she leaves Scotland Yard and returns home to join the Jamaican police force, where she investigates missing persons cases. I think you would enjoy it.
I already am salivating. I'm excited because Last of Us is over.
Yeah.
What else?
Need something to watch.
I mean, all my Bravo shows, like...
Andor is over.
And, I mean, what are we to do? I'm just going to lay down and die. But now I don't have to because I have Get Millie Black.
Get Millie Black. Yep,
ready in the queue. So just to recap those shout-outs, it is Re-Living Single, a podcast wherever you get your podcasts if you love the Black 90s TV show. And Get Millie Black, a British TV series. Where did you watch it?
On Max.
On Max. And Beth loves it. I know I'm going to love it. And we hope you do too. And that's it. All right, Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media. The footnotes for each episode can be found on our website. Plus, check it out for the different ways that you can support the show. You can also join us on Patreon, where we have hundreds of hours of bonus content. You can also support us by supporting our sponsors, or by giving us a 5-star review.
5 stars only, please.
Don't forget to subscribe.
That's right. Now, this is a weekly podcast, and episodes drop on Thursdays. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there. if there's nothing that you want to get off your chest, or
let's get along.
Let's get on the show.
With the shoe.
We have a show to do.
Yeah,
okay, here we go.
Okay. Are you back?
Hello, friend.
Hello.
Yes. Now back and
Damn.
no more Costco fans.
Damn.
You know, speaking of Costco fans, they've got a new model. And so we bought 5.
Oh,
and
wow.
Well, it's hot in here. It's hot in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
quick water sip. It is so fucking hot in here. I gotta cool off. Oh, my God. Okay. Where's my phone? I had it on my phone and I can't find my phone, of course, as per usual. So near the Saco and Goose Fire Rivers.
I think it's Goose Fair.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's weird.
Thank you for telling me that. And now I'm going to do it again. So near the Saco and Goose Fire Rivers.
Fair.
God. Is it gonna be one of these nights again? No. Okay. Ooh.
Almost 100% white.
Yeah. Oof. I just got a chill from the
I can't
ice,
even imagine.
from the snow. Ooh, brr.
Wow.
Blizzard of 78 still here in 2010.
Still here.
So
The blizzard of 98%.
yeah, the 98% blizzard. It just won't leave. So
It's so weird.
well, it's
looks
also
so weird.
jarring the way it distorts like
Your
a
face.
Yeah.
It looks so weird.
Mm-hmm,
I think I said that like 3 times. Did I mention?
Emphasis on W-E-I-R-D. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
So,
Ooh,
yeah.
Oh, what's up with that? Oh, what's up with that? What's up with that? Sorry. The Maine Supreme Judicial Court on Tuesday upheld.
oops, on Tuesday. Let's take that out. On Tuesday.
I was on autopilot on that one. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm working on this show and my actual work, and so sometimes I get them mixed
Confused.
up, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
wait, there wasn't a murder in this.
There wasn't a murder. So good thing we
Whoopsies.
caught it. Woo!
I don't know if she sorry, let me start over.
It's okay. Go ahead. Take your time,
Brain
friend.
is going all over the place.
Hey,
so
y'all.
I think
My heart had a little orgasm. Wow. Or flutter, whatever you want to call it. Anyway.
I would say flutter.
Okay,
but
whatever.
That's because I'm a prude.
And we get to
Okay.
rest, and I hope that you enjoy baby grandsons. Well, he's not a baby anymore. He's almost as tall as you.
Yeah.
Is his voice
His
changing?
birthday? Not yet.
Girl,
Yeah.
my son sounds like a whole man, and
Oh
he's
my
as
God.
tall as old Whitey.
Holy shit.
But he still has a baby face, and still wants
How
to
old
like.
is he? Like 13?
He's 12. He's gonna be 13
12.
in July. But
Wow.
yeah, he's over 6 feet
Wow,
tall.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy
Holy
and
shit.
scary to have a
Yeah.
big black child.
Yeah,
in the
13-year-old
world.
child
Yeah.
who's 6 foot tall.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
nuts.
Yeah. So, anywho, love
right.
you so much. We'll get the audio in
Love
the
you too.
drive, and I'll just see you on the internet.
Sounds good.
Be easy. Love you. Bye.
All right. Bye.